What's going on, everybody? I'm Jory Goodman, the Time Teller, and today we're going to be taking a look at not one, but two Formex watches. Now, I've already reviewed a Formex Essence Leggera, or Leggera, however you want to pronounce it. It was that really nice, sleek, kind of stealthy, understated sports watch, super duper light, very Formex in design. It had that very interesting suspension system. One group of people, after watching that review, said it was just a gimmick. Why would your watch need a suspension system? And another group of viewers said, hey, that's really cool, that's really innovative, I've never seen anything like that before. And I'm kind of in that latter group. I've never seen anything like that. I think it's interesting. Do I need a watch with a suspension system? Not really, because I don't really beat on my watches all that much, and when I do beat on a watch, I'm going to be wearing something like this Timex Ironman or, a G-Shock. So I do still think it's cool. I just don't know if I would need it every day. Now, regardless of that, we're still going to take a look at two Formex watches that have that very interesting suspension system. One is coming in at 43 millimeters. This is the Formex Essence chronometer in silver. Kind of has a cool fume gradient dial there. And the next one is actually a new offering from Formex, and it's coming in at a very reasonably sized 39 millimeters. So this one is actually just under that kind of 40 millimeter sweet spot. So we're going to compare and contrast these because there are some differences between these watches aside from just the dimensions, and we're going to see which one's better for you. It is 1:30 p.m. Let's get down to business. Okie dokie, so right off the bat, there's a difference in price, and it's not the way you may think. I would think the larger size is more expensive because there's more material there, right? Wrong. Actually, the new 39 millimeter dwarfs the 43 millimeter in price. We're looking at $1,280 for the 39 millimeter, and according to the website, the 43 millimeter is still listed at $785. Now, that's definitely something to consider. A lot of you guys might want something 40 millimeters or below, so if you want that kind of sub 40 millimeter sweet spot, you're definitely going to be paying for it. But the differences don't stop there. Let's take a look at the movements. So the 43 millimeter is powered by an ETA 28242 automatic. This is chronometer certified. And you're getting a 38-hour power reserve. Now, the 39 millimeter is actually powered by a movement we've seen a ton on Microbrand Monday, and that's a Sellita SW201 automatic. A really nice sweep, and also about a 38-hour power reserve, so no huge difference there. I know there's a big argument, ETA, Sellita, which do you choose? I think they're both great. I have a bunch of watches with ETA movements, and I have a bunch of watches with Sellita movements. Now, what I'll say is, when we're looking at microbrands, Sellita, much more common, probably a bit easier to source, and a bit more cost-effective for the watchmaker. But again, the Sellita offering still COSC certified, so both of these are going to be chronometers according to Formex. Now, the 43 millimeter Essence has a 49 millimeter lug to lug. The 39 millimeter Essence has a 45.3 millimeter lug to lug. But when we're looking at how it lays on the wrist, both of them come in around 10 millimeters thick. Or should I say thin, because that's not a whole lot of watch on the wrist. Now it's time to look at the similarities, because all in all, these watches are very, very similar. Both have 316L stainless steel cases, they both have sapphire crystals, they both have display case backs showing off movements that look very similar in regards to the skeletonized rotor and just the overall design of how they finished them. Both have 100-meter water resistance ratings. Again, they're both 10 millimeters thick, and they both have that Formex suspension system. Now, whether you choose the 39 millimeter or the 43 millimeter, you're going to be getting some interesting dual finishing. As we can see, the watch, the bezel, kind of that surrounding suspension system, the bolts and the bezel, very nice mirrored polish, and then around the crown you're also getting a nice mirrored polish, but the sides of the case and the bracelet That's pretty much exclusively a brushed finish, although, you know, there's some reflection coming off of it. So yeah, you are getting some dual finishing on both of these watches. What I will say is, although this kind of fume dial of this 43mm is very nice to look at, I actually prefer this black dial of the 39mm. Both of them have this kind of line pattern, which is actually carved into the dial, so you are getting a dynamic look with that groove pattern, and, you know, the applied indexes, everything looks very, very sharp. What I do love about these watches is that although the sides of the bezel are mirrored and polished, the top flat surface of the bezel has very nice brushed grains. Again, that added attention to detail just makes these watches that much more pleasant to look at. The Formex logo is a bit different than that Leggera we took a look at. A lot of people complain about the Formex name. I've heard some very, very funny things like, oh, Formex, what is that? Sounds like a medication. Well, I suppose you could say, I mean, Formex, Rolex, there's a lot of weird brand name, Hublot. But the Formex logo, very different on these watches, which I'm excited to see, and they've chosen to go not only with a different font, but with an applied Formex logo atop that text, right below the 12 o'clock index. Very nice. Again, I don't think it's super offensive. I think everything is pretty symmetrical, and yeah, although I kind of prefer either logo or text, this is an example of a company using both right, in my opinion. Now, down by the 6 o'clock, we are getting a date complication with very nice louvered cuts on either side of that date window. Again, another just real nice attention to detail, gives that whole complication a very dynamic look. It's not just, you know, your normal rectangular or square date window, and it's not just a, you know, a dastardly circular date window. Those are disgusting anyway. This has a very nice louvered cut on both sides, and it just kind of almost flows into the date wheel. I really, really like that. Now, something they could have done better on this 43mm fume dial is they chose to give this what seems to be a white date wheel, which I would have chosen them to use a dark date wheel because, again, down by the 6 o'clock as you move towards the chapter ring, because of that fume gradient, it's already getting kind of dark. So I would have chosen them to use a darker date wheel so that, you know, the dial isn't getting darker and then all of a sudden there's this eyesore of a light date wheel. They did it properly on this 39mm with, you know, black dial, black date wheel. Just looks like it was meant to be there, doesn't look like an afterthought, doesn't stick out like a sore thumb, but it's still very easy to read. Yeah, I dig that for sure. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the bracelets of these watches. The links are all mobile and they seem to lay very flat. Even as I move my finger around the bracelet, the material is just laying atop my finger, which is what you want to see because some watches can't do that. As you move your finger along the bracelet links, the links just bind up. We've seen that with various kind of more affordable microbrand watches, but we can also see that these Formex bracelets utilize a butterfly clasp system. Let's get you in focus so I can actually show you there. You press the two buttons on either side of the bracelet and it opens up and you have to pull the other side apart, and yeah, you're getting a nicely finished butterfly clasp. So that logo on the butterfly clasp carries on to the applied logo on the dial, and of course same logo on the crown, and you even see that logo on the rotor. So guys, this is an example of congruent design language. Now, I'm not a design expert, but what I have done is assessed many watches, some of which do not have very congruent, coherent design language. And, you know, we see a bunch of different logos or a bunch of different signage or multiple different fonts, and it's all quite confusing and it's just not pleasant to look at. So I do really enjoy that Formex chose just a very linear idea, right? We're going to have one logo and we're going to put it on multiple places of the watch, and then it's going to be very easy for the consumer to decipher what we are and who we are. We're not going to have one logo for the dial and then a different design on the crown, and then the rotor is going to have a different design. No, Formex, you did it right. Good job. So let's go ahead and put them on the wrist, yeah? I'll start off with the 43 millimeter. I'm a bigger dude. I have about 7.5-inch wrists, a bit larger than that. You know, one of the funny things, I was reading my comment section the other day and someone was like, oh, why does he always bring up his wrist size? It's such a weird thing to brag about. Dude, I review wristwatches. That's like a person that reviews shoes not bringing up their foot size or something. Like, you're going to bring up the size of your wrist so that people can kind of assume or they can kind of gauge, how it would look on their wrists, right? So, yeah, here we have a 43 millimeter Formex Essence chronometer on my 7.5-inch wrist, and with that just sub 50 millimeter lug to lug, this is 49 millimeters. It's not encompassing the entirety of my wrist, so I'm actually quite happy with that. The bracelet material, it's not pulling my hair just yet, and the links again lay very, very nice and flat on my 7.5-inch wrist. Look at that. It's not encompassing the area of my wrist. So again, people like to wear their watches differently. A rule of thumb for me is that I don't like the lugs to overhang the sides of my wrist. So yeah, not bad. For 43 millimeters, this wears just fine. Let's go ahead and move on to the 39. Now guys, what you're gonna have to get used to with this watch is the butterfly clasp. When you press the button, let's see if I can get you focused. When you press these two buttons, it only opens up one side. The other side, you have to pull apart, okay? This isn't like one of the symmetrical butterfly clasps that you press the button and they both open. So there's a sequence to this. If you close one side, the side with the logo, before the other side, it's not going to work, okay? You have to close the other side first, and then finally the side with the logo. I've been messing that up the whole time. So that's something to get used to. Most butterfly clasps I've used in the past, they're symmetrical, so when you press the button, both sides open. This is not like that. All right, let's move on to the 39 mil. Okay, so a little bit tight on my wrist right now with the links supplied. But this wears just fine, guys. 39 millimeters, again, about a 7.5-inch wrist, not to brag. Feels good, bracelet, comfortable, a bit snug, again, with the links supplied here. But what I will say is, I don't know if it's because I'm biased towards vintage watches, but personally, even though I'm a bigger dude, I would probably choose to wear the 39 over the 43. I'm glad they sent me both to review. Now, I'm not keeping these watches. I am sending them back to them. I believe I'm sending it to their photographer, actually, so they can take more media photos. But I really do appreciate them sending me these watches to take a look at. And another interesting thing that we got to play with is that suspension system. Look at that. In before the comments saying, oh, it's the Gimmick. We don't need them. Might be, I mean, dude, again, it's not like I'm gonna go to a store and be like, my watch, a requirement of my watch is that it has a suspension system integrated into the case. That's not something that I've ever purchased a watch seeking out. However, it's cool to see on a watch. So yeah, I mean, I see both sides though. I see why people would say it's a gimmick, and I see why people would say it's cool. So what do I think in conclusion, now that we've spent an afternoon with these two Formex Essence watches, the 39 and the 43? Well, the build quality is impressive, okay? I think it's very nice finishing, impressive build quality. You're getting very nice specs, Swiss-made chronometers through and through, 100-meter water resistance rating, no threaded crown, okay? So if you're looking for like a true diver, these are not that, right? They are sporty though. They feel good. The bracelets are comfortable. I think the weak points would be the butterfly clasp. I don't really like. Okay, would have liked it to be a symmetrical butterfly clasp. I don't like how you keep having to do one side over the other. That might just be me. I'm an idiot, so it's hard for me to remember that. But that's probably the weakest part, is that butterfly clasp. But all in all, the bracelet actually does feel quite nice. Also, another kind of added touch is the quick releases on the bracelet. So if you don't want to use the bracelet, it's very, very easy to undo. So yeah, I think people are going to okay, here. I think the hardest pill for some people to swallow will be the price tag, right? These are over $1,000. Well, one of them is the 39 millimeter. Let's see, 1280. I think that this is still a lot of watch, and I think that that price is not totally, out of the question. I think you're getting a Swiss chronometer with very, very nice specs and really nice build quality and finishing. So I think them asking over $1,000 is not out of the realm of reality. What I will say is that you are probably getting better value though with the 43 millimeter. Because this is well under $1,000. This is $785. So if you're looking to get the specs and the build quality, and you're okay with, would I consider this an oversized watch? I'll say if you're looking for a watch over 40 millimeters, then yeah, you're going to save some money getting that 43 millimeter watch. If you really, really, really need that sub 40 millimeter sports watch feel, again, you're going to pay for it. You're going to pay about $1,300 for it. So guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me on another episode of Microbrand Monday. Formex, thank you so much for sponsoring this episode and sending me these watches to review. I'm going to go ahead and send them right back. And guys, we've been getting a bunch of new subscribers. I want to thank everyone for checking out the Microbrand Monday series and every other thing we do here, all the rants and comparisons. A bunch of weird stuff's been going on with YouTube and, them... I don't know, kind of a ham-fisted sweep of watch channels. I want to thank all the viewers, not just from my channel, but from, Jody's channel, Adrian's channel, Teddy's channel, everyone that's been coming to the support of the watch community here on social media. I really, really, really do appreciate it, and your support does not go unnoticed. And I want to thank all the other content creators that have come together and seen them support each other. It's amazing. So yeah, guys, thanks for sticking by us. We're making the content for you as honestly and as fun and as entertaining as possible. And we're going to keep doing it as long as YouTube allows me to be on this platform, I guess. It's insane. I never thought that it would come to that, but whatever. So there's a whole bunch of ways to support the channel. You can keep watching the content, which is the easiest, most direct way of helping us. You can check out the Amazon affiliate links in the description below. We have a bunch of really cool watch gear there. We have modern watches, watch toolkits, watch winders, things like that. You click those links, and it helps the channel out a bunch. You can check out my personal website, thetimetellershop.com, where we're selling a really beautiful red grape Oyster Perpetual 36 millimeter. Amazing. And you can check out our other channel, T3 Time to Drive, for all you gearheads, all you petrol heads out there. You can check out everything automotive related over there, my car collection, what I'm doing with them, how I'm modifying them. And yeah, please click the link in the description below and subscribe over there. All right, guys, I will see you on the next one. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay blessed. I'm Jory Goodman, the Time Teller, and always remember, I didn't invent time. I just tell it.